The rooster had not yet crowed when Amara's eyes opened. The air was still dark, heavy with the smell of damp earth after last night's rain. She lay on the thin raffia mat, her body curled against the cold, staring at the thatched roof above her. The hole in the corner let in a pale slice of moonlight, casting a silver wound across the mud wall. Her stepmother's voice cracked through the silence like a whip. "Amara, are you dead in there? The millet won't pound itself." Amara flinched. She rose quickly, wrapping her faded wrapper tighter around her bony frame. Barefoot, she stepped out into the courtyard, her toes sinking into wet sand. The pounding mortar stood in the middle, tall and heavy. Beside it, Ngozi, her stepmother's only daughter, sat on a stool, lazily painting her toenails with crushed hibiscus petals, her hair already braided into an intricate crown that glistened with palm oil. "You're slow like a tortoise," Ngozi said, smirking. "Maybe if you hurry, Mama will let you lick the pot today." Amara said nothing. She placed the pestle in the mortar and began to pound. The thud of wood against millet echoed in the pre-dawn air, loud and steady. Her hands ached from yesterday's washing, the skin cracked and raw. But she kept her rhythm, eyes lowered, lips pressed into silence. From the kitchen hut came the sharp hiss of oil meeting fire. Mama Ndiamaka emerged, tying a fresh, brightly colored wrapper around her wide hips. She was a large woman, her gold earrings dancing as she moved, the scent of expensive imported perfume clinging to her like power. "Faster, Amara. We have a long day ahead," Mama barked. "The coronation will not wait for lazy girls. Ngozi must look her best for the prince. This is her chance." Amara's pounding faltered. She looked up, her breath catching. The coronation. She had heard whispers in the market. Today, Prince Oberchaik would be crowned in the great palace square. Elders, chiefs, and nobles from all over the kingdom would attend. There would be music, feasts, and dances, and the prince would walk among the people to choose his bride. Her heart swelled at the thought. Not because she dreamed of being chosen. No, those things were for daughters of chiefs, for girls with gold bracelets jingling on their wrists. But she wanted to see it, to feel the drumbeats in her bones, to watch the sun catch on the prince's crown. "Mama," she began softly, "will I?" "You." Mama cut her off with a laugh that scraped like sand in a wound. "You will pound this millet, sweep the compound, fetch water from the stream, and wash the plates. If you finish before we return, perhaps I will let you eat the leftover yam peels." Ngozi's giggle was sharp as a needle. Amara's throat tightened, but she swallowed her words. She had learned long ago that speaking her heart only brought more cruelty. She bent her head and pounded harder, the pestle slamming into the grain with renewed force. Hours later, the compound buzzed with preparations. The sun climbed higher, its heat licking the red earth. Ngozi stood before the mirror shard nailed to the wall, draping herself in the rich blue wrapper Mama had bought from the traders who came from the coast. The fabric shimmered like water. Amara came in, carrying a calabash of water balanced on her head. Sweat streaked her temples, and her wrapper was damp from the stream. She placed the calabash down gently, eyes drawn to the way the wrapper hugged Ngozi's curves, the golden beads at her neck catching the light. "Be careful where you look," Mama said sharply, catching her gaze. "Envy is a sickness, and you cannot afford another disease." Amara lowered her eyes. Mama reached into a wooden chest and pulled out another wrapper, softer, more beautiful than any Amara had ever touched. Rich green with embroidered patterns that seemed to breathe. "This one," Mama said, turning it over in her hands. "This is for you, Amara." Amara's heart jumped. "For me." Mama's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, you will go to the coronation after all." Ngozi's head whipped around. "Mama, why?" "Hush," Mama said. "The prince must see the kind of girl who will never be queen." Amara reached for the wrapper, but Mama snatched it back, her smile twisting. Then, with slow deliberation, she tossed it into the cooking fire. The flames licked greedily at the fabric. In seconds, the green beauty shriveled into black ash. Amara froze, her hand half extended. Mama, why? You will go in this, Mama said, tossing a bundle at her feet. It was a faded, torn asso oak cloth, the edges frayed, the once red patterns dulled to brown. It smelled faintly of smoke and palm oil. Tears stung Amora's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She knelt, picking up the cloth with trembling fingers. Dress her quickly, Mama ordered Ngozi. We must not be late. By the time the sun stood high, they were ready. Ngozi's beauty was blinding, her beads clinking with each step, her skin oiled to a soft glow. Mama wore a head tie as tall as a crown, her wrapper bold and defiant. Amara trailed behind them, barefoot, her ragged cloth hanging loosely from her thin frame. People in the village stared as they passed. Some laughed openly. Others whispered, "Is that the girl Mama Ndiamaka brought to the coronation? She looks like she came from the refuse heap. Why shame a child like this?" Their voices clung to her skin like thorns. She kept her eyes on the dusty road ahead, each step heavier than the last. At the edge of the village, the palace gates rose in the distance, tall and carved with the faces of kings past. The sound of drums thundered from within, rolling like the heartbeat of the kingdom. Amora's breath caught. For the first time that morning, a small light stirred inside her. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the drums. Maybe it was the way the sunlight struck the palace walls. Maybe it was hope, small, foolish, but alive. But as they reached the gate, Mama Ndiamaka leaned close, her voice low and sharp. Remember this, Amara. You are nothing. And when the prince sees you, he will know it too. Amora's chest tightened until it hurt. She pressed her lips together, holding back the hot sting in her eyes. Inside the palace courtyard, colors exploded, bright fabrics, gold crowns, silver anklets. The air was thick with the smell of roasted goat and spiced yam. Laughter, singing, and the deep hum of talking filled the space. And then, silence. Amara felt it before she saw it. Heads turning, eyes on her, whispers rising again, sharper this time. She stood still, clutching her ragged cloth, wishing the earth would swallow her whole. From the raised platform, the prince turned. His gaze swept over the crowd and stopped on her. For one long heartbeat, Amara forgot to breathe. The prince's eyes stayed on Amara longer than they should have. She didn't understand why. She wanted to look away, but something in his gaze made her freeze. He wasn't laughing like the others. He wasn't whispering. He just looked curious. Mama Ndiamaka noticed it too. Her lips tightened, and she quickly moved to block the prince's view. Keep your head down, she hissed at Amara. Don't stand there like a bush goat. Amara lowered her head, but inside her chest, her heart was thumping so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. The drummers struck their talking drums harder. A royal guard in red beads walked into the courtyard carrying 2 folded wrappers and a box covered in cowrie shells. He spoke in a loud voice so the whole crowd could hear. By order of the royal family, every daughter invited to the coronation will be given a wrapper and beads for today's celebration. 1 set for Miss Ngozi, daughter of Madam Ndiamaka. 1 set for Miss Amara, daughter of the late Madam Ifunanya. The guard stopped in front of them and bowed slightly as he handed both gifts to Mama. The crowd murmured. Some people smiled at Amara, thinking this was her moment to shine. Mama's face held the sweetest smile she could fake. "Oh, how kind of the royal family," she said in a voice full of honey. She took the first wrapper, a rich gold fabric with tiny embroidered suns, and placed it gently in Ngozi's hands. "My jewel, this will shine on you like the morning." Ngozi giggled, turning the fabric so it caught the sunlight. "It's perfect, Mama." Then Mama took the second wrapper meant for Amara. It was even more beautiful, deep purple with silver. Threads that made it look like a sky full of stars. The beads inside the box were smooth and shining. The crowd leaned in, expecting her to hand it to Amara. But Mama's smile shifted into something sharp. She stepped back, looked at Amara from head to toe, and then laughed loudly enough for the people nearby to hear. "Beads and wrappers for a girl like you? No, it will be wasted. These are too fine for a child who pounds millet and sleeps in ashes. Amara's lips trembled. But, Mama, the guard said. Mama's hand shot out so quickly Amara flinched. Do not speak back to me in public. You will wear what I give you. She turned to the guard. I thank the royal family for their kindness, but my late husband's daughter is shy. She does not enjoy fine clothes. Before the guard could reply, Mama stuffed the wrapper and beads into her bag. Amara felt every pair of eyes on her. She wanted to disappear. She wanted the ground to swallow her whole. The heat in her face burned worse than the sun above them. One woman in the crowd whispered, How can a stepmother be so wicked? But another said, Maybe the girl is cursed. Why else would her own father's wife shame her? Mama took a bundle from the bag she had brought from home. She tossed it at Amara's feet. Wear this, she said. Amara bent down and picked it up. It was the same torn cloth she had worn this morning. The edges were frayed, and one side had a stain that wouldn't wash out. She held it in her hands and felt her chest tighten until it was hard to breathe. Ngozi leaned close and whispered, You should be grateful. At least it covers you. Then she laughed, loud and cruel. The drums played again, signaling the start of the royal parade. Mama grabbed Ngozi's hand and began walking toward the main palace square. Follow us, Amara. And keep your distance. Do not embarrass us more than you already have. Amara followed a few steps behind. The dust from their feet rose and clung to her skin. She kept her head down, but every now and then she could feel the sting of people's laughter hitting her like tiny stones. The square was crowded, bursting with color. Chiefs in leopard skin cloaks, women in bright wrappers with matching head ties, children with chalk designs on their faces. The air smelled of roasted goat meat, groundnut soup, and fresh palm wine. Drums and flutes played in rhythms that made the air feel alive. At the far end, the prince sat on a carved wooden throne, his crown shining under the sun. Beside him sat the queen mother, her eyes calm but sharp. Guards stood in two lines, their spears upright. Mama and Ngozi walked straight to the front, smiling and bowing. Amara stayed behind them, hoping no one would notice her. But the prince's eyes found her again. This time, his gaze wasn't just curious, it was searching. Mama noticed and quickly started talking loudly to one of the chiefs nearby, drawing attention away. But the queen mother leaned toward the prince and whispered something. The prince's expression changed slightly, and he nodded. The drums stopped. A royal announcer stepped forward. Today, as is our tradition, the prince will choose women from the kingdom to join the royal dance. From them, he will pick one to honor during his coronation feast. Women in fine clothes stepped forward. Their wrappers flowed as they moved, beads swayed around their necks. Mama pushed Ngozi forward, whispering, Smile. Keep your head high. He will choose you. But then the prince raised his hand. Wait, he said. His voice was deep and calm, yet it cut through the noise of the square. There is one more I wish to see. The crowd murmured. People looked around. The prince pointed, directly at Amara. Mama's eyes widened. No, your highness, that girl. I will decide for myself, the prince said simply. A guard came and gestured for Amara to step forward. Her legs felt heavy as stone. Every step toward the front made her heart pound louder. She could feel Mama's eyes burning holes into her back. When she reached the center, the prince stood. What is your name? He asked. Amara's voice was barely a whisper. Amara, your highness. He smiled faintly. Amara, you will join the dance. Gasps came from the crowd. Mama's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ngozi looked as if someone had poured cold water over her. The drummers began again, and the dancers moved into the open space. Amara stood among them, her ragged cloth hanging awkwardly. She didn't know the royal dance steps, but she copied the movements of the woman beside her. Her bare feet pressed into the warm earth, her body moving with the rhythm. The prince watched her, not with pity, but with the same curious interest from before. And Amara felt something strange, not pride, not happiness exactly, but a flicker of something warm in the middle of her shame. When the dance ended, the announcer called the chosen women to line up. The prince walked past each one, speaking softly to them. When he reached Amara, he paused. From his pocket, he took a small golden anklet. Without a word, he knelt and slipped it onto her ankle. The crowd gasped again. Mama's face turned dark as night. The prince looked up at Amara. Gold is not only for those who wear fine clothes. Sometimes, it belongs to those with the strongest hearts. The drums struck once more, and the announcer declared, "The coronation feast will begin at sunset. All chosen women will be seated in the royal section." As the crowd cheered, Mama stepped close to Amara, her smile tight and dangerous. "You think this is your moment? Enjoy it while you can. By nightfall, you will wish you never came here." Amara's heart sank, but she said nothing. Somewhere inside her, the small warm flicker grew, but so did the shadow of fear. The evening sun was dipping low, painting the palace walls in gold and orange. Drummers beat softly in the background, preparing for the coronation feast. Amara stood quietly in a corner of the royal courtyard, still feeling the weight of the golden anklet around her ankle. It was light, but it felt heavy with meaning. She could still hear the gasps from the crowd when the prince placed it on her. She didn't understand why he had done it. She was wearing rags, standing beside women in silk wrappers and fine beads, yet he had chosen her for this honor. She looked at the anklet again, touching it with her fingertips. Part of her wanted to smile, but then she remembered Mama's words. "By nightfall, you will wish you never came here." Mama's voice had a way of turning joy into something bitter. "Amara," a voice called softly. She turned and saw a young maid from the palace walking toward her. The girl's wrapper was neat but plain, her hair tied back. She looked nervous, glancing around before speaking again. "The Queen Mother wants to speak to you." Amara's heart jumped. "Me? Why?" The maid shrugged. "I don't know, but when the Queen Mother calls, you go." She took Amara's hand and led her toward a shaded area at the far end of the courtyard. The Queen Mother sat on a low stool, surrounded by a few older women. She was dressed in white and gold, her face calm but sharp. When Amara approached, the older women stepped back, leaving the two of them almost alone. "So," the Queen Mother began, her voice smooth but firm, "you are the girl in the rag cloth." Amara lowered her head. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Lift your face," the Queen Mother said. "I want to see your eyes." Slowly, Amara obeyed. The Queen Mother studied her for a long time. Her gaze felt heavy, as though she could see more than just Amara's face, as though she could see into her heart. "Who dressed you like this for such a day?" she asked at last. "My stepmother," Amara whispered. The Queen Mother's eyes narrowed slightly. "And why would she do that?" Amara hesitated. She says I am not worthy of fine clothes." A shadow passed over the Queen Mother's face, but she said nothing about it. Instead, she asked, "Do you know why my son, the prince, placed his anklet on you?" Amara shook her head. The Queen Mother leaned closer. "Because he sees more than what is on the outside. But the outside can still be dangerous. The palace is full of eyes, and not all eyes wish you well." Her words made Amara's chest tighten. She wanted to ask more, but before she could speak, Mama Ndiamaka appeared, her smile wide and false. "Ah, Your Majesty," Mama said, bowing deeply. "I hope my stepdaughter has not been troubling you." The Queen Mother's calm expression did not change. "We were simply speaking." Mama moved to Amara's side and gripped her arm, her fingers digging in. "Come, Amara. The feast is about to start. You wouldn't want to miss it." The Queen Mother's gaze lingered on them as Mama led her away. Amara felt the pressure in her arm. When they were far enough from the Queen Mother, Mama's smile dropped. "Stay away from the Queen Mother," she hissed. "Do not speak to her again unless I tell you. Do you understand?" Amara swallowed hard and nodded. She knew better than to argue. By the time they reached the feast hall, the smell of roasted meat and spices filled the air. Long tables were covered with food, steaming bowls of jollof rice, yam porridge, pepper soup, grilled fish. The golden light from oil lamps danced on the walls. The chosen women were seated in a row near the prince's table. Mama pushed Ngozi forward to sit in the very front. Amara hesitated, unsure where to go. But the prince, already seated, gestured toward an empty seat near him. "Sit here," he said. Amara's breath caught. She walked slowly to the seat, aware of every jealous stare that followed her. Mama's face had gone hard as stone. As the feast began, the prince spoke to the women beside him. When he turned to Amara, his voice softened. "You danced well," he said. Amara looked down. "I don't know the royal dances. I only copied what I saw." "That is still skill," the prince said, smiling faintly. "You have a way of moving that is honest." Honest. It was such a strange word for him to use. She didn't know how to reply, so she stayed quiet. Across the table, Ngozi was laughing loudly at something one of the palace guards said. Mama leaned in, speaking to her in a low voice. Amara couldn't hear the words, but she could see the way they both glanced toward her and then smiled in a way that made her uneasy. Halfway through the feast, the prince excused himself to speak with the chiefs. The moment he was gone, Mama leaned over the table toward Amara. "You think this anklet will save you," she whispered. "It will destroy you. I promise." Amara's fingers curled into her lap. She didn't reply. Later, as the night deepened, the drummers called everyone to the open square for the final dance of the evening. The firelight flickered over the faces of the crowd. The prince returned to the center and began to dance, his movements graceful and powerful. One by one, the chosen women joined him. When it was Amara's turn, she stepped forward, her heart pounding. She could feel Mama's eyes on her like knives. Still, she danced. She moved with the rhythm, her bare feet warm against the earth, her ragged cloth swaying. Somewhere in the crowd, someone shouted, "The girl in rags dances better than the ones in gold." Laughter and applause followed. Amara felt heat rise to her face, but this time it wasn't shame, it was something like pride. The prince came closer, smiling, and for a brief moment, the world around her seemed to fade. But in the shadows behind the crowd, Mama's face was twisted in a look Amara had never seen before, a look that promised trouble. When the dance ended, the crowd roared with cheers. The prince took Amara's hand and raised it high. "Tonight," he said loudly, "we celebrate not only the crown but the spirit of the people. This girl's spirit shines brighter than cloth or gold." The cheers grew louder. But Amara noticed Mama and Ngozi slipping away into the darkness. A chill went through her. As the feast drew to a close, the chosen women were told they would stay in the palace guest rooms for the night. The prince gave his anklet a final glance before leaving with the chiefs. Amara was led to a small, quiet room with a mat and a folded blanket. The air smelled faintly of herbs. She sat on the mat, her fingers brushing the anklet again. Outside, footsteps moved quickly past her door. Voices whispered in the hallway. She couldn't make out the words, but she thought she heard Mama's voice, low and sharp. She lay down, pulling the blanket over herself, but sleep did not come. The Queen Mother's warning echoed in her head. "Not all eyes wish you well." Somewhere deep in her heart, she knew the night was far from over.
She remembered the Queen Mother's warning, "Not all eyes wish you well." What did that mean? Was someone planning to hurt her? She shook her head, trying to push the fear away. Maybe it was just palace workers talking about the feast. But deep down she knew it wasn't. Mama's face during the dance had been full of anger, like a storm ready to break. And her words at the table echoed in Amara's ears. "You think this anklet will save you? It will destroy you. I promise." Amara's chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing it. She wanted to cry, but she held it in. Crying never helped at home. It only made Mama laugh more. Suddenly the door creaked open a little. Amara froze. A shadow slipped in and the oil lamp's light showed Ngozi's face. Her stepsister's eyes were narrow, and she held something in her hand, a small knife? No, it was just a piece of cloth. But Ngozi's smile was mean, like when she teased Amara about licking the pot. "What are you doing here?" Amara whispered, sitting up straighter. Her voice shook a bit, but she tried to sound brave. Ngozi closed the door quietly and stepped closer. I came to talk, sister. Or should I say, the prince's new favorite. She said the last word like it was poison. She sat on the edge of the mat, too close for Amara's liking. You think you're special now? With that shiny thing on your ankle? Amara pulled her leg back under the blanket. I didn't ask for it. The prince just gave it to me. Ngozi laughed softly, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was sharp like a slap. Oh, poor Amara. Always so innocent. Do you know what Mama is saying right now? She's in the hallway with one of the palace guards. Telling him stories about you. How you're a thief. How you stole beads from our house and hid them. How you're cursed because your real mother died young. Amara's eyes widened. That's not true. I never stole anything. Ngozi leaned in, her breath hot on Amara's face. Who cares if it's true? People believe what they hear. And Mama is good at making stories. By morning, the whole palace will think you're bad luck. The prince will take back that anklet and throw you out like trash. Tears burned in Amara's eyes now. She blinked them away. Why are you telling me this? You hate me. Ngozi's face twisted. For a second she looked sad, but then the meanness came back. I don't hate you. I was supposed to be the one dancing with the prince. Wearing the gold. Mama promised me. But you ruined it all, standing there in your rags like some hero from a story. Amara shook her head. I didn't ruin anything. I just danced. Like everyone else. Ngozi stood up suddenly, her voice rising. You don't get it. Mama worked hard for this. She saved money for my wrappers, my beads. She wanted me to be queen one day. And now, because of you, the prince looks at a girl who sleeps in ashes. It's not fair. Amara felt a pang in her heart. She knew Ngozi was spoiled, but maybe she was scared too. Scared of not being the favorite. Ngozi, please. Tell Mama to stop. I don't want to be queen. I just want to go home. Ngozi paused at the door, her hand on the handle. Home? After this? Mama won't let you. She said if the prince likes you, she'll make sure you disappear. Then she slipped out, leaving Amara alone in the quiet room. Amara's hands shook as she hugged her knees. Disappear? What did that mean? Would Mama hurt her for real this time? She thought about running away, but where? The palace gates were guarded, and outside was the dark night full of unknown paths. Her breathing came fast like she couldn't get enough air. She pressed her hand to her chest, trying to calm down. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Amara wasn't sure. Then more footsteps came, heavier this time. The door opened again and Mama stepped in. Her face was calm, but her eyes were like fire. She closed the door and stood over Amara, arms crossed. Get up, Mama said in a low voice. We need to talk. Amara stood slowly, her legs feeling weak. Mama, please. Ngozi told me what you're doing. Don't spread lies about me. Mama's laugh was cold. She stepped closer, grabbing Amara's arm hard. Lies? You think that's all? You embarrassed me today. In front of the whole kingdom. Wearing rags I gave you, and still, that foolish prince notices you. Amara winced from the grip. I didn't mean to. Let go, it hurts. Mama squeezed tighter. Hurts? Good. You need to learn. I brought you here to show everyone what you are. Nothing. But now, the prince gives you gold. The queen mother talks to you. People cheer for you. Her voice got louder with each word. Do you know what that does to Ngozi? To me? We've worked for years. I married your father to get a better life. And you? You take it away with your sad eyes and strong heart nonsense. Tears fell down Amara's cheeks now. She couldn't hold them back. Papa loved me. He wouldn't want this. Mama slapped her lightly, not hard enough to bruise but enough to sting. Your papa is dead. And his love didn't save you. Now listen. Take off that anklet. Give it to me. I'll say you lost it. Then tomorrow you'll go home and stay there. No more palace. No more prince. Amara pulled away, rubbing her cheek. No. The prince gave it to me. It's mine. Mama's eyes flashed with rage. She lunged forward, trying to grab Amara's ankle. Amara stepped back, tripping over the mat. She fell with a thud and Mama knelt down, her hands reaching. Give it. You don't deserve it. They struggled on the floor. Amara kicked lightly, trying to push Mama away. Stop. Please, Mama. Why do you hate me so much? Mama paused for a second, breathing heavy. Her face was close, and Amara saw something new in her eyes, not just anger but pain. Hate you? You look just like your mother. Beautiful, kind. Everyone loved her. Even my husband more than me. When she died, I thought I'd be the one. But you're her shadow. Always reminding me I'm second. Amara stopped fighting. Her voice was soft. I miss her too. But that's not my fault. Mama sat back, her shoulders dropping. For a moment she looked tired, old. Maybe not. But life isn't fair. Ngozi is my blood. She deserves the prince, the crown. Not you. Just then the door burst open. The young maid from earlier stood there, eyes wide. Behind her was the queen mother with 2 guards. The oil lamp's light made their shadows long on the wall. What's going on here? The queen mother asked, her voice strong and clear. Mama jumped up, smoothing her wrapper. Nothing, your majesty. Just a family talk. The queen mother looked at Amara on the floor, then at Mama. It doesn't look like talk. Guards, take this woman outside. She will explain herself to me. The guards grabbed Mama's arms. She struggled. Let go. Amara, tell them it's nothing. But Amara stayed quiet, wiping her tears. She watched as Mama was pulled out, yelling, You'll regret this. All of you. The queen mother knelt beside Amara. Are you hurt, child? Amara shook her head, but her voice cracked. She wanted the anklet. She said she'd make me disappear. The queen mother helped her up. I heard whispers in the hall. That's why I came. Your stepmother is jealous. Jealousy can make people do bad things. Amara looked at her. What will happen to her? The queen mother sighed. She will be questioned. If she planned harm, she will face punishment. But you are safe here. Amara felt a mix of relief and sadness. Mama was mean, but she was family. Or what was left of it. And Ngozi? She is with her. They will both answer. The queen mother touched Amara's shoulder. Rest now. Tomorrow the prince will want to see you. As the door closed, Amara lay back down. Her heart still raced, but the fear was less. She thought about the prince's smile, the dance, the cheers. Maybe tomorrow would be better. But in the quiet, she wondered if Mama's words were right. Would this all destroy her? Outside, in the hallway, Ngozi waited with a guard. She heard Mama's angry voice fading away. Tears ran down her face. She had followed Mama to Amara's room, hoping to help. But now everything was falling apart. Mama, she whispered. What have we done? The prince stood in his room looking out at the moon. He couldn't sleep. Amara's face kept coming to his mind. Her dance, her eyes full of strength. But he had seen her stepmother's glare too. Something was wrong. He turned to his guard. Check on the girl in the guest room. Make sure she's safe. The guard nodded and left. The prince paced, his crown heavy even though he wasn't wearing it. He had chosen Amara because she was real, not like the others with their fake smiles. But now he worried. Had he put her in danger? Back in her room, Amara finally closed her eyes. The anklet felt warm now, like a promise. But dreams came fast. Dreams of Mama chasing her, of the prince turning away. She tossed and turned, sweat on her forehead. In the palace dungeon, Mama sat on a cold floor. A guard watched her. You can't keep me here, she yelled. I did nothing. The guard said nothing. Mama leaned against the wall, her mind racing. She had to get out. Had to stop Amara. Ngozi, she muttered. Find a way. Ngozi slipped past the guards in the dark. She found a side door and ran into the night. Her heart pounded. She had to tell someone in the village. Maybe the chiefs would help. Amara can't win, she thought. Not like this. The moon watched over the palace, silent. Secrets moved in the shadows. Amara slept fitfully, unaware that the real trouble was just beginning. The prince worried in his room. The queen mother planned her next move. And Mama's anger burned like fire, ready to spread. Room, staring at the new wrapper the queen mother had given her. It was deep blue with silver threads, soft and smooth, unlike anything she had ever touched. A maid helped her tie it around her waist and added a string of white beads that clinked together when she moved. Amara's hands shook as she touched the beads. She looked beautiful, but her stomach felt tight with worry. Last night's memories still haunted her. Mama's bitter screams in the dungeon, Ngozi's escape into the darkness. Even now, Amara's ears rang with those echoes. Her eyes fell to her ankle. The golden anklet, the one the prince had given her during the dance, glinted in the morning light. It made her heart lift a little, but it also scared her. What if Mama was right? What if this gift only brought her trouble? From outside came the sounds of the villagers. Their voices buzzed with excitement. Coronation day had arrived. The maid pulled the beads tight around Amara's neck and stepped back to look at her. You look beautiful, she whispered. Then she glanced at the window and added, the people are gathering. They're waiting for the prince, and you. Amara's heart skipped. Me? But I'm just me. The maid gave her a gentle squeeze on the hand. The prince chose you. That means something. She led Amara through the long hallways, where torches flickered and the smell of roasted yam and palm oil filled the air. But the air felt heavy too, as if a storm was hiding above the palace roof. When they stepped into the courtyard, Amara gasped. Villagers filled the place, their wrappers bright like rainbows, head ties tall and proud. Children danced in circles as drums rolled loudly. Amara moved quietly along the palace wall, her wrapper brushing against her legs. She spotted the prince across the yard, dressed in gold and red robes, speaking with chiefs. His eyes found hers, and for a moment he smiled. But then, "Stop the coronation." The shout cut through the air. The drums stopped. Heads turned. Amara froze. Ngozi was pushing through the villagers, her wrapper bright blue, her face twisted with rage. Behind her came a group of villagers shouting and waving sticks. "That girl is no good," Ngozi cried, pointing at Amara. "She used charms to trick the prince." Amara's knees felt weak. She leaned on the wall for support, beads clinking at her neck. "She has forbidden charms," Ngozi screamed. "She stole from our house and used dark spirits to make the prince like her." The crowd gasped loudly. A chief in a leopard skin cloak stepped forward, his eyes sharp. "Is this true? Can the kingdom trust a girl accused of such things?" Amara could not move. Her voice caught in her throat. But the prince did not wait. He pushed through the crowd, his voice firm. "Enough." Amara used no charms. "I chose her because I saw her heart." Ngozi turned to him, tears in her angry eyes. "You don't know her, your highness. At home, she stole our family's beads and hid them to make charms. Mama told me she's dangerous." Amara shook her head, tears spilling down her face. "That's not true. I never stole anything, Ngozi. I washed your clothes, pounded your millet, carried your water. Why are you lying about me?" The villagers muttered among themselves. Some nodded in agreement, others shook their heads. A man shouted, "If she has charms, she must stay far from the prince." From where she was chained near the guards, Mama raised her head and smirked. Even trapped in irons, her eyes burned with satisfaction. Then the Queen Mother stepped onto the raised platform. Her white wrapper shone in the sunlight. She raised her hands and the whole courtyard fell silent. "A queen is not chosen by lies," she said in a voice steady as a drumbeat. "She is chosen by her deeds. Amara, come forward. Speak your truth." Amara's chest thumped. She thought her heart would break out of her body. But slowly she moved forward. Her wrapper swept the ground as she climbed the platform. All eyes were on her, some filled with doubt, some with kindness. She took a deep breath. Her voice trembled, but it was clear. "I'm not a thief. I'm not a charm maker. My mother died when I was young and I miss her every day. My stepmother made me work hard, called me worthless. But I never stole. I carried water, swept the floors, cooked food. I never took what was not mine. The prince gave me this anklet because he saw me for who I am, not because of any trick." She lifted her foot, showing the anklet shining in the light. The crowd murmured. A woman carrying a baby whispered, "I've seen her in the market. She's always kind." A man nearby muttered, "Maybe Ngozi is the one lying." Ngozi's face burned red. "You lie," she screamed. "Mama told me you stole those beads after your mother died. You used them to make the prince notice you." But then the village elder arrived, walking slowly with palm leaf records in his hands. His voice was steady as he spoke. "The beads Ngozi speaks of were not hers. They belonged to Amara's mother. Mama took them and claimed them for herself." Gasps swept through the crowd. Ngozi dropped to her knees, dust clinging to her wrapper. Her voice broke. "Mama, you said they were ours. You made me believe." She sobbed, hiding her face in her hands. The prince turned to the crowd, his voice strong. "Amara is my choice. No lie will change that." He took the royal beads, white and gold, from the guard and placed them gently around Amara's neck. "This is my promise before you all." The crowd erupted in cheers. Drums boomed again. Mama slumped in her chains, her eyes dark with rage. Ngozi remained on the ground, tears staining her face. The Queen Mother raised her staff high. "Now let the people witness. Today our prince becomes king and by his side, Amara becomes queen." The crowd shouted as one, "Long live the king! Long live the queen!" The prince, now crowned king, took Amara's hand and lifted it high. Beads and sunlight gleamed together. Tears still wet on her face, Amara smiled through them. The kingdom roared with joy. Drums shook the air, dancers leapt high, voices rose to the heavens. And so it was done. The prince was king, and the orphan girl the world had looked down on was queen. But as the cheering rolled like thunder, Amara's eyes caught a shadow in the crowd, a figure watching her too closely, too still. Her heart gave a small shiver. Even in this moment of triumph, she knew her story was not over.